Today we're going to be discussing modes on the guitar. First question is, why learn the modes? Well, don't get bogged down in discussions about whether songs are mode or whether you're playing is whether that's a mode or not, whether it's a pattern, whether it's a scale. What we want to do is learn the fretboard in any key. So the best way to do that on the guitar is by learning the modes. If you've done the caged system before, you might find these familiar. Really, we're just approaching the same problem in a different way. Difference is that the modes, you'll learn all 7 modes of the major scale modes, whereas the caged system only covers 5 patterns, if you like, which tie up with the major scale. First thing to remember is to don't move your fingers around unnecessarily. So all the major modes or major scales start with the second finger, because we want to get this little pattern going. 1, 2, 3 to get that major third. If it's a minor scale or mode, we start it with the first finger, because we need to get to that flat third 3 frets away from the root. So we're going to do it in G major, and we'll work through the 7 modes, and I'll show you the patterns. So yeah, don't get bogged down in thinking about it too much. Just learn, doing the hard yards, learn these patterns, learn these modes. And then once you've learned them in G major, you can say, all right, let's go to another key. Let's go to A major, something quite easy, just 2 frets up, and do the same thing again. All right, so firstly the G major. So we'll start with the second finger, 3rd fret on the G. So a few things there. We want to keep the pace consistent. So you don't have to do it to metronome all the time, but it is a good idea to do it to a metronome. But even if you're not doing it to metronome, keep the pace quite steady. Also keep the notes as an even volume. In terms of picking, I would normally do these as economy, which means that you're doing alternate, but if you do a downstroke, say on the E string, and then you've got the next note is on the A string, you're going in the same direction, so you just carry on going the same direction. So that's called economy picking. You can also practice these in alternate picking. That's some guitarist, Paul Gilbert, for example, is just so smooth, so fast using alternate picking. It's a little bit harder because sometimes you have to go around the string to do an upstroke, because you've just, say if you do a downstroke on the E string and then your next note is on the A string, you can't just do another downstroke, you've got to go down and then up. So you're going around the A string and up. So you're going in and out of the strings a little bit more. I would make those, when you're practicing this, just make those movements a little bit bigger when you're doing alternate picking than when you're doing economy picking. If I'm doing economy, you can see my right hand is hardly moving, just sort of like about 3 millimeters, say, each stroke. When I'm doing alternate, it's probably going about 1 centimeter each time, and that's sort of getting your arm used to going up, down, up, down, up, down like a robot. To me, that makes it easier to get the body to always do that up and down in the right order. If your finger style, the way I like to do it, is to do thumb and first finger. That's the sort of Mark Knopfler, John Mayer kind of style. If you are doing faster runs in finger style, then you do sort of need to work out a method for yourself to be able to quickly get across the strings. That's the one that I would look at first. The fourth way of doing it is to do hammer-ons and pull-offs. That's a good practice just to build that strength in the left hand as well then. So you can cover multiple techniques while just doing one exercise. You can be sort of practicing 3 techniques at the same time and getting your your value worth for your time. We'll just go through the shapes now. So that's your G major or G Ionian mode. The next mode up is 2 frets up on the what would be the A minor in the key of G. This is Dorian. You see how I'm not moving my hand unnecessarily. I'm going back a fret there, back up a fret, 5th fret there. But the important thing is to find a pattern that works for you, and then practice that. And so you want to get it where you don't have to think about it too much after a while, or don't think about it at all after a while. So then when the next note in G major, the next chord you might be on is, say, a B minor, and that relates to the B Phrygian. So this has got that flat 2 sound to it. This is a good one in that you don't have to move outside that shape at all. Sorry, you don't have to move outside this position. We're in position 7, which means our first finger's on the 7th fret. We've got 8, 9, 10 covered, and we don't have to go anywhere else. So the Lydian is just the same as Phrygian, but just starting it from the 2nd note. With that one I went 2 octaves. With the Phrygian I went more than 2 octaves, because I started on the B, went to the B, and then went all the way up to that D. I just find that it makes the pattern more symmetrical, because you've got 7, 8, 10, 7, 8, 10 on the frets. So you may as well, it's within your reach easily, you may as well do those extra notes, so that if you're kind of soloing there, you remember straight away that that's where you're going next, rather than only going to that B and then not remembering what comes afterwards. And of course the high E string is always the same as the low E string. So over D7, which is the 5th chord in the scale of G major, we would do D Mixolydian from this 10th fret. So this is very similar to the Ionian or the major scale, in that it's just has that flat 7 instead of the natural 7. It's a major type scale because it's got that major 3rd in it, even though it's not the major scale. This can all get a bit confusing. The Ionian is the kind of root major scale. The Mixolydian is still major because it has a major 3rd, or a natural 3rd if you like, rather than a flat 3rd. So the Dorian, the Phrygian have a flat 3rd, the Lydian has the major 3rd, so that's a major type scale, which is why I said start on the 2nd finger when you do these, because you get up to that shape straight away rather than then have to move your hand straight away down a fret. Okay, so quickly moving on, we're on to... This is the Aeolian mode, or the natural minor. So that's 3 frets lower than the G major that we're on. So the final mode we come to is called the Locrian, and that would be on the F sharp. So we'll, rather than going up all the way up there, we'll go down to this 2nd fret. And the way to remember this easily is that it's the same as the G Ionian or the G major, but we're just going to start 1 fret lower on the what would be the leading note into the G major. And we'll stop there for 2 octaves. And that's the most unstable mode. It always wants to go back to G. All right, so that's I don't want to make that any longer. There's a lot more we can say, but that's enough to get started. And my advice is to just get those patterns under your fingers, just remember them, do them in G major like we covered, then take them to another to another key nearby, say A major or F major. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found this useful. And there's more that we can do on the modes, so I might make another video for that. Thanks again.